Hey everyone, welcome to Office Hours, our July version. It's good to all see you here. My name is Anouk. I'm the head of customer success at Slite. I'll be your host for today, and with me is Danny.
Hello, good day, everybody. Excited to be here. I'm head of design, helping out with the product. So I guess we're going to talk a little bit about slides. I'm going to explain a little bit about what's coming, what we are working on, some exciting stuff. And I guess Anouk, you will kick it off.
Yeah, we'll start slowly. So we'll give people a minute or two to come into the meeting. This session will also be recorded. So if you have any colleagues that missed it, if you do have to drop off a little bit earlier, that's okay. We'll send out this recording to everyone that had signed up, and we'll make it available to basically all of the Slide users. Now for today, Danny already mentioned it, but we have 3 parts to our agenda. I'll kick things off with an overview of some of the improvements and new features we released in the last, let's say, 6 weeks. Then Danny is going to look towards the future, like what's coming next, what are we working on, what can you expect, what can you maybe already test. And then for the remainder of the time, and depending on how much time we'll have, we'll see how far we'll get with it. But we picked the topic of collaboration within your knowledge base. So I want to discuss some best practices, some features, and just give you some more pointers on how to really make the most out of collaboration within your knowledge base.
By the way, we are both located in Holland, but I'm really curious where all you are from. So leave your location in the comments. I'm really curious, or in the comments in the chat, because yeah, I'm really curious who we have actually in the channel right now. So quite a lot of people joined already.
Same for me. I do see some familiar names, which is good.
Belgium.
Oh, that's close.
Boston. Oh, we got like people all over the place. Brussels.
Nice. In any case, also throughout the presentation, feel free to use the chat. If you have any questions or any feedback or just remarks, just drop them in there. It's a great way for us to quickly learn about what's on your minds.
Nice. Got Turkey, England, Ukraine. I will try to keep up with the comments, and then you can.
Sounds good. Sounds good. I think we can slowly head into the program of today, because I know these 45 minutes will always go by very quickly. So I'm gonna pull up my screen, and like I said, let's get started and go through the agenda of today. So today, office hours, July. This document, by the way, we will also share with you afterwards, so you can always go back and you can share it with other people as well. But just to get started, what's new in Slite? And there's a lot of things that changed. You can always follow our changelog to see everything. But for today, I wanted to highlight 4 things that I think can be really impactful. Now, the first one is that we give you the option to report incorrect answers from Ask. Now, the way that that works is whenever you use Ask and you ask a question, by the way, you'll also see that this has slightly changed.
We don't have the spider anymore. We had some people being a little bit afraid of the spider that we had in the illustrations, so we updated the illustrations, and I think it looks way friendlier nowadays.
Yeah, not everyone likes spiders, which I totally get. So I'm asking, who's Danny? Danny is the head of design at Slite. That's not a lot of information. So if this was a real question and I get a few words as an answer, which doesn't really help me, what I can now do as a user is I can report a bad answer. So with just a single click right here, I have reported this answer as not being sufficient. I can add details as well. So if the content creators of my account go over this, I can let them know like, hey, does not tell me enough. What are his hobbies? And send that along with it. which is a really impactful way to basically collaborate and improve your knowledge base. Now, if we go full circle on this, what you can do, and it depends on the settings in your account if you have access to this or not. In some cases, it will only be there for admins. In other cases, every member of the workspace can see it. But in any case, you can go into your settings and you can find the Ask Insights right here. And if you go here, you'll see that here's the question that I just reported. And from here, people can work on improving the knowledge base, basically. So what we can do here is we can retry the answer. It still shows us the same, but maybe in between reporting the answer and checking it again, the knowledge base has been updated and now it's correct. We can also dismiss this as this is not really something that needs to be documented in a knowledge base, or we can answer. Or maybe even better is you can go to the right document in your knowledge base and you can add some more information. Now, in this case, we're just going to dismiss it and we're going to go back to Slite.
So to give you the answer, my hobbies are photography and design, as you can imagine. But I could have written a document there to explain it, so everybody would have get that answer.
All right, perfect. So going on to the second update, and maybe you've already seen it, but an update that we made, and you can't see it on my screen because I'm just sharing a window, but we added favicons to Slite. And what that means is if you have your browser open and you have multiple tabs, it will no longer show the Slite logo or the logo from your account in every tab, but instead it will show the image, the icon you have on the document that you currently have open right now. So in this case, I'm on my office hours document, which has this nice little calendar icon. That would be the one that I see in my browser. And I can already tell you, for me, it has a big impact because I'm one of those people that always have multiple tabs of multiple documents open, and it's now much easier to navigate between them. And as a bonus, what you'll also see is if you have an update, if there's a notification for you in Slite, you'll see a nice little red dot on top of that favicon. So you know, like, hey, my attention is needed somewhere. All right, third one, small one, but I do think it's impactful. So that's why I wanted to highlight it today. But we made some changes to search. So when you're using search in Slite, we use semantic search. So that means that you don't always have to spell the exact word correctly. If you make a mistake, so if I forget a letter of my name, it will still know that I'm trying to find my name, which is spelled with an extra letter. That being said, sometimes you want to search for an exact word, and you can now do that by putting it into these quotation marks, these double quotation marks, and then it will only search for this exact word. You can also use it for a phrase, so multiple words, and put them between quotations, which will make it much easier to locate the thing that you're looking for. So small update, but really impactful. And then the last one, so I'm going to show you one more thing, and I'm going to pause for questions or feedback real quick. But we also made some updates to our template gallery. Now, in your Slite account, if you go to the left-hand sidebar and you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll have a template library. First of all, you'll see that the design has been updated. So if we go to the Slite templates, you have a much better overview of the templates that are in there. You can see a preview, so it's easier to locate something that can help you. Now, from here, you can also open one of them up. You can immediately already make some updates. You can use the template and go from there. You'll also notice that these templates, so the Slite templates that we created for you, we went over them and we updated them. We made them a little bit better. We added some extra ones to the mix. So if you're starting a new process or you're in the beginning phase of building your knowledge base, definitely go to the Slite templates because there can be a lot of inspiration for you there. Okay, quickly going back to our chat. Are there maybe any questions about these updates?
So we have one question. Team templates, let's see. Hi there. It's planned to separate team templates from personal templates. Let's see. So currently we have the team templates. We have no plans on the roadmap, but let us know if you have a clear need for this. I would love to get into contact to learn a little bit more about like how you want to use this and how this can benefit you. But yeah, definitely something that I will be adding to the roadmap to the backlog and see if we can have more people let us know to prioritize the feature. But it's a good suggestion.
Yeah, I think good question as well, because maybe something that isn't always clear from the start. So you can create your own templates in Slite. And when you do that, you can do it in different ways. You can go to the template library and create something from scratch. But what I often do, what I often recommend to our customers is if they have a document which they're very happy about and it's something that they use over and over again. So, for example, with office hours, it always has the same structure. We plan it on a monthly basis. What you can do is if you're on one of those docs, you can click on the three dots and you can save it as a template. And all the templates you create, either from scratch or from a document, they're saved as team templates. So they're available to every member in your organization. So currently, we don't really set permissions for templates. And we already have an upvote for personal templates, so that's good. I'm also seeing a second question. What's the simple difference between search and ask? That's a really good question, actually, and one that I get quite often. So search, I would say you can use that to locate a document. So if you're really looking for a document, you know that something is out there in your knowledge base, use search. If you're looking for a piece of information, you have a question, it's probably documented in a knowledge base, but you don't know in which document, you can just ask the question. So you can ask it in natural language, almost as if you were tapping a colleague on the shoulder. So I can ask Danny, like, hey, Danny, how do I create a template in Slite? And that's the same use case for ask. Like it really goes over the documentation. It maybe even combines multiple documents and really gives you the answer to the thing that you're looking for.
So what technically is happening is basically it does a vector search. So we do multiple searches at once and finds answers that are closely. So it's different than a keyword search where you find exact keywords or things that are slightly matched. It really tries to find the context and try to understand, and also then pulls in different sources to give you an answer. So if you have multiple documents that give you a fuller answer, so it then combines different parts of different documents to give you the full answer, the full picture of, and you can use your natural language to answer raise the question to get the answer.
All right. We have another question. Do you plan to offer Markdown mode? I know that we get this more often.
I would love to get in contact to learn more about your use case. We currently are working on a little, going a little bit before what I was supposed to tell you, but we are working currently on the formatting and on improving certain Markdown support. We, at this moment, have a limited support, so we don't support tables, for instance, or full image support, but we do support the basic Markdown features. But I'm curious about like your use case. I can imagine maybe you want to copy and paste Markdown, and those things we do support. So we try to align as much as possible with what GitHub is doing, and you should be able to copy and paste most of the Markdown that you write in your README docs, for instance, on GitHub. I hope that answers your question. Thanks.
I see a lot of thumbs up, so I think it's going well. We're just going to spend some more time on questions because I see some more coming in, which is great. Keep them coming. So the next question is another feature that would be great, being able to notify a member when they are added to a collection as a people field. And Danny, I honestly don't know if we already support that, but usually when you tag a person in a document, they will be notified, but I'm not sure if you use the people field in a collection, if that's also happening.
I think this is a bug if it's not working, and I will. Okay. I made a note of it. It should work that way, so I will double check for this.
Yeah, and maybe to quickly show you what I mean by that. So if you create a new collection, we're just going to do it on the spot. And if you change the column type and you turn that into people, you can add a Slite user. So I can add Danny. And then Danny should be notified about that. So anytime you tag a user, either in a collection or just on the document, maybe here in the description, we can do the same. You should receive a notification, but let us test this real quick. And if it's not working, we'll address it as soon as we can.
I'm now looking at my notifications, and unfortunately
it always takes a little while. I do know that. Like it takes at least, I think, 10 minutes after I stop editing this document before you receive the notification.
Okay, we got a confirmation that it's not working. So.
Okay, well that's good to know as well, because then we have an action item. Another question about notifications: are members notified when they are made the owner of a page? I don't think so at the moment. No. So for those on the call, so when you hover over the top of a document, there is an owner for each collection, for each document, which by default is the person that created the document, but I can switch it around. People will not be notified by that. But for example, if I have a verification, for example, for 6 months, and January 25th comes along, the verification has ended, then it will be the owner that receives the notification, but not by just switching it. So Adrian doesn't know that I'm using him as a guinea pig right now. Perfect. That would also be useful. We will make a note of that. These sessions are always a great way to, take all of these notes and take them into account when we start planning again. If you have any further questions, put them in the chat. But I think for now, just want to hand it over to Danny real quick to talk about what we already have planned. And then we'll switch back to the Q&A again. Danny, do you want to share your screen, or do you want me to do it?
It would be great if you keep sharing your screen. There's not so much to show, actually, but one thing that was mentioned the last time we did the office hours is comments. Actually, comments is secretly, we released it already. We shared it in the community. So if you are already part of the Slack community that we have, you should be, I think you should have been able to see it. But now currently in Slite Labs, so if you go to Slide and then your settings, there's a section called Slite Labs. There is a place where we show, if you go to the left.
Oh, yeah.
There's the Slide Labs. Then there should be this toggle to open the the comments panel, and what this will enable is to see an additional layer of comments that we added. So we heard quite a lot of feedback on the way comments was working or not working always. So we added an additional layer. So besides the inline comments, the floating bubbles that you all became used to, we now have a central place where you can see all your comments. You can also see your global comments in a more easier way to scan. So it's a different workflow typically, where you maybe want to catch up with all that has been said about certain documents. You can quickly scan all the feedback and the comments that have been left if you maybe have written the document. I'll give you slightly more control and a better overview. And you can turn it on already today. We are still finalizing the last bits to enable this, hopefully in the next 2 weeks. With this, an additional feature we will release is the table of contents. Unfortunately, Anu cannot share that one yet. I think we don't have a feature flag for that. But this will be also more visible, and it will share the same right panel that we currently have open here. You will see an easier way to navigate your doc by having a clear table of contents, where we also make it a bit easier to see the different headings that you have in the document. One thing that we also shipped, talking about headings, is finally we have an H4 tag. I'm not sure people have seen it. It's been a feature that has been requested quite for a long time, but now you are able to type, and I'm not sure if it's released for everybody just yet, but you can basically type H1s, H2, and 3 and 4 tags. I think you can try it. There you go. So we have this additional flexibility. We also improved the spacing between the headings to make it easier to scan, something that we were not happy with. Sometimes it was too hard to separate an H2 or an H3 tag, heading tag or title from each other. So that's something that should be visible for everybody. Then on top of that, we will keep shipping some smaller improvements to formatting. So indentation will be a feature that we have added to make it more easier and more visible, and some other tweaks to make it more easy, make it easier to format your documents. Another big feature, well, actually not a big feature, but a highly requested feature, is that we will finally allow you to add colors. There's a long discussions and a lot of requests from people, but soon you will be able to add colors to your text. So hopefully we have made some people happy, because it was actually one of the most requested features that we had for a while now. On top of that, we will be improving tables. Tables had some issues in the past, so we had a whole list of improvements that are coming in the next coming weeks. We will also make improvements on the reader mode, making that available, and Anu can share more on that, make that available for more plans. So also making it easier for people to contribute or consume the knowledge base that way. So hopefully we make it easier for your entire company to use Slite. Let's see, did I forget anything? I think this, in a nutshell, are the biggest things that are coming or that we are working on right now. But if you have any requests, as always, please go to our Slack community. Let us know what you are missing, what you like to see to be improved. And I'm more than happy to add it to our backlog and start prioritizing based on your feedback. So I guess that's it for the coming soon part. Any questions?
I already see one related to the colors. So there's HTML colors, question mark.
I'm curious what you mean by HTML colors. At this moment, we have a fixed set of colors that we will support, but I'm not sure if you want to have hex code color support. That's a really nice one. I would love to have that one myself as well. I will make a note of it. I cannot make promises yet, but I will definitely try to see if we can add this as well in the formatting project that we're currently working on.
Amazing. We do have a bunch of questions again. So I'm quickly gonna go over them. So there was not so much a question, but a remark about, is it possible to exclude certain folders, articles from search, since search sometimes gives old or irrelevant articles? And I saw that some other person in the chat responded to it. So with search, you can include certain things. You can narrow down your search. So if I quickly go back to my Slide account, if I pull up search, I can definitely say like, hey, just go over customer experience as a channel, or the Slide Help Center, which is a public channel. So I can narrow it down, or I can even select multiple sources, but there isn't really a way to exclude them. There is something coming. So Jeffrey, you're absolutely right. But it is in our new beta product X, Ask X, and I really hope that we're going to change the name soon, because I always trip over it. So part of our team is working on something which will be in addition to Slide. So we'll continue to work on Slide. Like Danny said, we have a lot of exciting plans for it. But in parallel, we're working on something that's a bit different, which is not per se a knowledge base, but more of a knowledge navigator. Likely in September for our office hours, we'll have Chris, our CEO, who's going to talk more about it. But some of our customers are already using the beta version of it right now. So they're playing around with it. And that product indeed gives you the opportunity to create spaces to say like, hey, I want to ask a question, but only use these specific areas of Slide or maybe other sources to answer this question. Don't include anything else. But more on that later. And then I think we had some requests around notifications as well. So as I mentioned, when you are tagged on a document, you will be notified. But I think this case, so David said, like, I want to be notified of all comments on my direct reports weekly updates. I'd like to get a notification whenever someone comments in them, rather than having to check them period, oh, another word that I just tripped over. So I'm just going to skip it. So at this moment, not exactly how it works, but there is a workaround you can use. What you can do is, if you're on a document or a document with subdocuments, you can open up the three dots and you can follow updates. And that means that if anything in this document changes or comments are added to it, you will receive a notification. When you will receive the notification, that's up to your settings. So that's another thing that you can configure, which is in your settings. And then if we scroll down a little bit, you'll have the notifications. So this is another way to say like, hey, notify me when someone edits a doc that I follow, email me these notifications, or maybe send them to Slack. And you can also say like, hey, I want to receive them immediately, or maybe in this case, send me a weekly summary email, because that would be enough. All right. How do I add a public channel? That's also a good question. So you could already see I'm in our actual Slite account, and certain documents, certain channels are public. So we have a channel with public docs, which is a mix of different things, and then we also host our help center in Slite. But for any channel, what you can do is, if you click on the channel and you open up share, you can share this to the web. So you can make it public via a link. And when you do that, you have different options. So you can say like include all of the sub-documents. So that means like you're sharing the entire channel. You can also decide, hey, can people read this, or can they maybe even write? If they can duplicate it to their own site account, and if you want to optimize it for search engines, so people can find it through Google, etc. So that's how you make that happen. Let's see. Do we have some more questions? Just put them in the chat while we continue, because I see we have about 15 minutes. So I do want to talk a little bit about collaboration in your knowledge base as well. And it's nice that we're getting all of these questions about tagging and notifying people, because that's a big part of collaboration, of course. So definitely fits with the team. But yes, for this month, wanted to talk a little bit more about collaboration, because building a knowledge base for your team, I wouldn't recommend to go about that on your own. You can technically do it, but that will be a challenge. And what I often hear from our customers is that they want to open things up for collaboration, but sometimes it can quickly become a mess. So with that as the starting point, I wanted to just share some practical strategies and insights on how you can have collaboration, but still have a bit of control as well. And I think when it comes to collaboration in a knowledge base, you can do that on different levels. So you can collaborate creating documentation, you can improve documents, and then you can also address the knowledge gap. And the last one we already saw kind of when I showed you how to flag incorrect answers. So we'll mostly focus on the first two. And the first one around creating documentation. Now in Slite, and when I look at our customers, I tend to see two different approaches for creating documentation. It almost never is the case that people sit down next to each other and write a document together in the same room, which is okay because we give them the tools to not have to do that. But there's two ways you can go about it. And the first one is really the very collaborative open approach where everyone in the account is a full member. They can write documentation and they just can go to the right channel, click on the plus and create a new document. If you have a smaller team or maybe a smaller team working in one particular channel, this can be a very good approach because it's very transparent. You can immediately see what's going on. And if you create a new doc, you can already see it in the tree structure and you can go from there. What people often do is, because there's always this moment where work is still in progress, we don't really have a status for that, but you can enter in an emoji. We can search for it right here, work in progress. So this is often something I see. It's a little trick to show people like, hey, still working on this, don't judge me, I'll get back to you later. You can, of course, also do that by changing the icon of the document itself. Now, when you're working on a document, a great way to collaborate asynchronously is by using the comments. So Danny already showed you we're releasing a new version of comments, which make it even easier to see everything that's happening in a document. Now, when you're using comments, you can either highlight a certain part of the text, create a comment. You can tag a person as well to get their feedback and go from there. And I think with using comments to create content, it's definitely helpful to be as specific as possible. I often notice this as well. Like sometimes I sort of take the easy route and I post my document in Slack and I say like, oh, if anyone wants to take a look, maybe share some feedback, that would be great. And then no one responds. So it definitely, if you want to make the most out of collaboration, be specific on your ask, and be specific about the person that you're asking as well. Because if I would tag multiple people here and ask them like, hey, can you have a look and let me know what you think? Probably no one will respond because everyone thinks like, oh, the other person will likely do it. So those are some tips that I can give you on that. And like Danny mentioned, there's another way to leave comments as well. The first one is highlighting some text and saying like, hey, this is the specific area I would like your feedback on. The other way is a global comment. So it's not per se tied to a specific area of the document, but it's about the entire document. And this is an easier way to maybe have a high level conversation about the direction, the strategy, the scope of a document. If we leave a comment here as well, and let's say we addressed it, it's also a good best practice to resolve it. So it will disappear from the main view, but we can always go back. And especially in this new interface, you can easily toggle between comments that are still open, so comments that still need to be addressed, and then comments that are already resolved. So you can go back into the history and see what happens.
By default, when you are leaving a global comment on a document somebody else created, the owner will get the notification. So maybe, look, if you go to another document that you did not create and you start typing, you will see a little notification that, for instance, Chris or me will be notified when somebody leaves a comment.
Exactly. Yeah. So you'll always see if there is already some, this is all my stuff, by the way. So maybe not the best, but maybe on our office hours document where Danny and I work together. No, not yet. I mostly worked on it.
Yeah, you're the owner of this one. So
yeah.
I think people need to trust that. Once you will get notified, we will let you know who will get the message. So also when you don't see somebody being mentioned, make sure to add them to mention them in the comment.
Yeah, absolutely. Tying it back to being as specific as possible and really letting people know like, hey, I would love to get your input on this specific piece. Yeah, so that's one way for collaboration, and it's really this open and collaborative experience, which works well for certain teams, but also might be a bit too much for other teams because there might be too many people involved and it might get a little bit messy. So another thing that you could also do or encourage your team to do is when they want to start new documentation, that they start it from their private channel. So every single person that is part of your Slite account, if they're a full member or maybe a read-only member, everyone will have a My Private channel, and that's where they can always create new documents. Doesn't matter what their other permissions are, but this is a space that they can use for their own documentation. And what we can do here is, again, we can create a document, and by default, it's only visible to me because it's in my private channel. But once I'm ready to share my draft, maybe with some other colleagues, I do have the option to share it. So I can invite another person to this specific document and maybe help me to write it. So we can collaborate, we can use the comments again, similar to the other documents. And then let's say this draft is ready and we want to move it to the actual knowledge base so it's visible for everyone in the team. Can either just pick it up and drag it to the right place, or can click on the three dots right here and we can move it to a specific channel or specific place. So this is a more controlled way of adding new documents to your knowledge base, still giving people the option to contribute, but in a more structured way I would say. And of course, like we have the multiplayer mode. So I can exactly see like, hey, Danny is on my document right now. And I could see his cursor going back and forth. And every update that you make is in real time. So there's no possibility of us both working on a different version. All right, I'm just going to use the search to quickly navigate back to my doc, which is also a nice tip for those of you that don't know about this. If you click on search, you'll see an overview of your recently visited docs, and you can quickly navigate back. Yeah, so those are two things I wanted to show about creating documentation. I know we're short on time, so basically the other thing that I just wanted to highlight here is around improving documentation. So the first one we already talked about, but if you're using Ask and you get an answer that maybe isn't quite clear, it's missing something, it's not really helpful, make sure to flag it, because otherwise people don't know. But another approach I want to highlight is using the verification system. And I think this is great if you are not per se using Ask, but you're more on a document level. You're reviewing maybe your company handbook or your time off policy. You're reading through it and you're like, there might be a little bit that's outdated, or maybe it's missing something, or it doesn't quite make sense. What you can then do is if you scroll all the way to the top of your document and you go to the verify section, well, first of all, you can see the owner, so you know who to reach out to. And then you also, even if you don't have edit rights, you have the option to flag something as outdated or request verification on this document. Since this document doesn't have a verification, I can request the owner like, hey, can you please check it? Can you highlight if it's up to date or not? If I really see an issue, I can flag it as outdated and I can say like, hey, this second paragraph, that's no longer valid. Maybe this person isn't working at the company anymore. Now, when you do that, the owner will immediately be notified. So they'll get a notification here at the top at Slite. And what they will also see is if they go to the knowledge management section right here, they will see that they have a document which is outdated. So there will also be a little button right here letting them know like, hey, you have maybe 1 or 2 or 3 documents that are outdated, and your attention is needed there. So that's another quick way of giving people feedback about the knowledge base and really helping to improve it. All right, I'm going to pause right here and see if we have any final questions. I'm going to make the document available to you as well, so you can go over it in your own time. And if there's any questions, always reach out to us as well.
Maybe one thing I did not share, but was shipped by one of our great developers, Benji. From today on, you can embed finally OneDrive documents into your Slide documents.
Yes.
A feature that has been requested by quite a lot of people, and we have it. Should be rolling out today, so you can finally use OneDrive to embed documents.
Yeah, it's big news. This session, the recording will be sent via email, and it's hard to say. Sometimes it's an hour because it's automated via this platform, but definitely within a day. It always needs a little bit of time to process. Right. Well, thank you all so much for being here with us today. Great questions, great suggestions. Keep them coming. What I want to maybe share as one last thing is if you have more questions, if you have more suggestions, if there's something that you want to talk about next time, do let us know. The document at the bottom has a link to join our Slack community, so you'll be in direct contact with us, but also, maybe even more importantly, our developers. And this is also the place where we announce like any new features that are open for beta testing, and you can sign up.
Don't hesitate to ping me directly if you have any like urgent needs or feature requests. I'm more than happy to help and see if we can add things to the roadmap. So yeah, super excited. Hopefully see you there.
All right, everyone, have a great rest of the day. Have a great August, because we won't be here with office hours in August due to the summer in Europe, but we'll be back in September. So hoping to see you then. Right. Bye.